Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Our summer Help the Helpers is now beginning.
Today, Sandy Jahmi Burg, the focusing coordinator from Floyd, Virginia, brings us her SmartView stories, which she has been developing for 5 years. And there's a project together with Barbara Dickinson to bring this into the schools. You can find more at her website, learnfocusing.org. Sandy, you like to say a bit more about yourself, specifically for today?
Okay, yeah. So, what I'm bringing today is has become a project which I'm aimed at. Well, okay, let me just see. I'm going to go back to how it began. So it began on a new moon in the July of 2018, where I came up with this idea to write stories that could teach over time. I imagined like 100, like a series like Winnie the Pooh. Lots of stories so that you could actually over time embody focusing skills. And so I've written 3 of those books. It was very interesting how they evolved. It was quite a mix of what was going on and the people that were in my life at the time. And there was actually a focuser, Brian, and he's from Maryland. His last name is escaping me right now. Who I first was looking at, we were kind of working on illustrations, and he is into superheroes. So maybe now you know who he is. Anyway, that's kind of how these inner companions developed. And I had already done kind of in my own way of teaching focusing, crossed Ian McGilchrist's Neuroscience, which you guys, I saw Laura and Karen were here recently. And I'd already crossed that with focusing myself, like with how I like bringing it into how I teach it. And so then a few years ago, Barbara Dickinson and I connected. And this has now become, I'm actually kind of trying to figure out how to maybe shift to become an educational consultant. And essentially, I'm writing a facilitator guide for the stories. The first one, it's going to cover the first 3 books, which have a total of 12 stories if you count the prologue. But anyway, I'm writing a facilitator guide, which would make it easy for educators of anyone who works with social emotional skills. So definitely schools, but also many other places could help people learn the skills based both with the stories and all the exercises. So there we go. So I'm gonna introduce you today to the characters. We'll do that, and then I'm gonna briefly introduce you to the characters, and then we will do an attunement. And then we'll pause, kind of as I'm listening to your schedule here. We'll pause and I'll kind of invite discussion about just the kind of setup of the neuroscience, if you have any. And then our topic today is self-soothing. And I'll read an excerpt from the story so you can kind of see how you can catch the skills from there. And then we'll spend our breakout space really inviting, my idea is probably through our 5 senses, but inviting how we self-soothe ourselves naturally, like how our body knows how to, calm our nervous system and what it's already doing there for us. And we can spend some time appreciating. All right. So I'm glad you're all here. So I'll go ahead and we'll kind of look at the characters. Trying to decide if, so I have them here. And Katerina.
Maybe, Jim, you could pin Sandy so we see her a little bigger.
Okay. Yeah, and I also could share screen. So let me go ahead. I think I'm actually going to share screen for these guys. Oops, maybe not.
Give permission to Sandy.
Yeah, Jim, could you give me permission to share screen? Yeah. There we go. Here we go. Let me move this out of the way. Let me move this up a little. Okay, so we have, you know, in any moment, this is the attunement I'll lead you. So in any moment, our sensory system is monitoring our environment. This is essentially what you might, you know, attribute to our right hemisphere. And the name I have for this inner companion, as we know, inner companion, because always our body is wanting our well-being. And so here's Hama. And she gives us access to all our body senses. She's fluid, flexible. Key for Hama, I would like you to, you know, especially today as we're going through exercise, Hama says, I am your body. And so really being able to, you know, this is what we do in focusing a lot, is we're wanting to, you know, become better connected to our body and how it communicates with us, which generally is often more through, you know, metaphor, images, body sensations, emotions, gestures, movement. And so the character is pictured as an octopus. So we have Hama going out and helping us create and just, yeah. And very much Hama is about being, just being, and also about relationships, very much wanting to connect with the world around her. And then typically in any moment, so we're monitoring our environment, we're also automatically going over to our left hemisphere to check what we already know about this situation. And so a lot of that we learned, you know, in our first 6 years. And the character here is a little human. And his name is Sleuthen. And so he helps us access everything we've already learned, loves to separate and label things, solve problems, always likes us to be engaged in some purpose, and prefers and defends what he knows. So when things are under control, he is happy. Sometimes he worries about the future. And boy, does Sleuthen like to talk. So he has access. So we have, this is our language center. So a lot of words and, you know, an interesting thing about Sleuthen to remember is Sleuthen would say, I have a body. I have a body and I like to keep it busy doing things. So there we go. And here we go. In focusing, we practice a third state of being. And this state of being is where, in Ian McGilchrist's work, he talks about how essential it is that we bring, you know, in any moment, we now come back over to our right hemisphere, because it's only here that new information can come in. It's only here that we could possibly do something new in this moment. And we add to this, it's interesting, because I did write Ian before, kind of while he was writing his second book, but I wrote him, and I can see in kind of how he's emerged that he talks about now that it's that you kind of come back in this particular way when you come back to your right hemisphere. He doesn't quite have I wouldn't say the same way maybe we would look at it as a focuser, but essentially, yeah, we're coming back, and I have an owl here, so holding space. So we come back now and we're holding space, kind of as I have pictured here. The owl holds space for both the other two. And so the key thing here, like to remember, would be this is being with energy. And this is, you know, here we are embodying trust. Anything is possible. Change ruffles no feathers here. You know, all the typical qualities that we want to embody. Huge, like this quality of setting a tone of cooperation and teamwork and working together. So there we go. And let's go ahead and do an embodiment now of practicing that right now to bring like an attunement. And then we'll, if you have any questions, we'll check in about the neuroscience. So yeah, taking some time to bring awareness to our bodies. And maybe first kind of acknowledging the space around us. Maybe checking in with the sounds. You have the sounds in your environment, sound of my voice. And bringing your awareness in now, maybe finding that gentle downward pull of gravity, finding those contact points where your body meets the surfaces beneath you. I am a body. And then kind of spaciously moving upward. And this is where I feel like we're coming, you know, where it's kind of the clearing of space, but we're also kind of checking, you know, and listening both for the hama and the sleuthen aspects. So kind of checking in with the sensations. And also, yeah, so you're kind of coming up into your spine, maybe welcoming it to align itself. And maybe coming up to your shoulders. And so as we move upward here, we might start to hear from more of our thoughts, our sleuthen, like maybe something that has an opinion about how we slept last night. And so letting that know you hear it. Maybe something about our day, about our weekend. Yeah, interesting. These will all be either the past or the future. And so welcoming those. And maybe kind of continuing upward. Finding yourself kind of checking in, yeah, with that space above your head. And then dropping down a bit, maybe saying hello to your eyes, that space between, you know, that which helps us look out at the world. Finding yourself alongside your breath. And maybe in this moment, appreciating maybe there's something your breath would like to show you. And then dropping inward into that whole inner area. Yeah, sensing your throat space, heart and chest, stomach, belly, all the way to your pelvic floor. Yeah, arriving within yourself. And maybe really picturing often I like to imagine like I'm aligned in my spine as Ashamaya, the owl, and then I am opening up this space in front of me. And already we've kind of checked in with what's here. But yeah, just go ahead and and just welcome being here. And when you're ready, and bringing your awareness back to our group space. Just kind of check in. Yeah, if there's any comments or questions about the inner companions, anything about the experience. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to read something from the stories, which will explain more. Okay. Feels like we're up for that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen again. And so this is where we'll move into our topic of self-soothing, which, as I mentioned in the description, it's I think it's just interesting to pause and appreciate the wisdom of our bodies already, like what we'll already have in our lives, which naturally self-soothes us. And then we'll go ahead and spend time with that in the breakout space. And it's different. What I want us to pay attention to today is we can kind of bring in the neuroscience. We're really going to be, for the most part, connecting with I am your body, or possibly also both of them. So what's interesting is, with the neuroscience, I like to say, at any point in our life, if we're able to create these spaces naturally that we create in focusing in our environment, then in that moment, you're potentially rewiring, and you're bringing together this, I guess I should go over that briefly. You may not be familiar. So I'll briefly just mention, Ian McGilchrist in his book covers this. I love how he goes over the kind of the evolution of the human brain. But essentially, we need both. We need these both different perspectives on the world. They're kind of essential for us to both find things to eat. I pick berries every morning this time of the year, and it's so fun. Like, I've been pausing with how, I need the focus, the detail, attention of my left hemisphere to kind of, and it'll be in the initial one, for instance, how red or how blue or how black is the berry. And then it'll reach for it, and I can actually get it. And so that's that. We need that kind of attention. We also always need the broad, sustained attention, in order to see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is when I actually, and our sensory system. So when I actually touch the berry, I can tell without even looking where I am. So I can tell without looking, because how plump it is, how soft it is, and then I know how ripe. Is this one really ripe to pick right now? And so there's a situation where both of my hemispheres are working together for me. Like, I can really feel, and so this is what we do in focusing. We create environments, I like to say, where there's cooperative, whatever qualities we bring to our inner space that we bring, things will get rewired with that kind of qualities. And so, you know, naturally, we have some of that. However, what they say is the average human brain, only 2% of each side is connected at all. And 80% of those are inhibitory connections. And inhibitory is that sense where, you know, you get a idea and you immediately doubt yourself. Anyway, they're not on the same page, because whenever we do that, we bring things together, because everything in us wants our well-being. They do find a way to be on the same page for us. And yeah, so an example there. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll share screen. Here we go. And lots of times I just read a little bit from the story, but the story part we're reading is pretty short. So I thought you might enjoy the prologue, because it kind of gives you a sense of what I'm trying to do here with focusing about creating this kind of space that we know how to create. And so here we go. It's story time, my companions, let's gather around. Ashamaya fluffs its wings out to each side. Hama takes a seat on one side. Sleuthen follows. The owl waits as they settle in. Ashamaya smiles and then speaks. It is time to help SmartView Village tell another set of focusing stories. Our mission for this book involves awkward moments. I wonder what comes for each of you when you hear the phrase, awkward moments. Sleuthen starts. Ugh, clumsy, difficult, unmanageable, no skill, very annoying. The owl nods. Yes, I hear this phrase brings up a lot that can annoy you. Hama chimes in. For me, awkward brings an image of tripping over my own arms or tying them in knots. It's downright embarrassing and might even be painful. Ashamaya's face softens as it imagines this experience. Oh my. And for you, awkward moments bring a sense of embarrassment, maybe even pain. Thank you for sharing. This is a splendid start. And there is more I'd like you to watch for as we help our friend Wendy. Our story involves Wendy at her new school. Hama is quiet. Sleuthen rolls his eyes and says, I am not surprised. Ashamaya smiles. This is helpful, Sleuthen. Surprise is a word I wanted to bring up. Are awkward moments planned or more of a surprise? Both Hama and Sleuthen's eyes widen. Sleuthen says, well, you know, I only like surprises I plan. The owl smiles and nods. Yes, I understand this about you, Sleuthen. Hama says, I get this. Awkward moments would often be unexpected. I will want to help Wendy slow down her breath. I imagine she could go into fight or flight or freeze if it's not a joyful surprise. Sleuthen sighs. I could bring in memories that help. Seems risky. Is there another way I can help? Ah, Sleuthen, you know a lot that can help Wendy. What is something she likes to do that helps her process her problems? Oh, yes, I can encourage her to draw. That will be easy, says Sleuthen, more excited now that he has a clear job assignment. Hama waves an arm. I will support you, Sleuthen. Show her the idea, and I'll add colors. I will remind her how calming it feels to create with her hands. Sleuthen and Hama give each other a high five as they shout, together as a team. They both look up at Ashamaya. Anything more? Asked Sleuthen. Are we ready? Asked Hama. Together as a team feels great. Thank you both so much for this, says the owl. Yes, we are ready. A lusciously ripe time to adventure. So here we go. The first story is called A Puddly Kind of Day. Wendy holds her head high as she steps off the school bus. She hears kids snicker as the bus pulls away. Oh, sorry about this. I'm having trouble getting it. As soon as it rounds the corner, she bursts into tears and begins running wildly home. As she sobs, she hears all sorts of thoughts flying through her mind. This was the worst day. How did this happen? Let's not go back there. As she sees her house, she slows down to a walk. Geez, I'm having trouble. Sorry about that. As she sees her house, she slows down to a walk, and her sobs became sniffles. When we feel bad, Ashamaya has many ways to help us find our way to feeling better. Moving slower now. This is where we really start to get into, see if you can really see where they're helping her. Moving slower now, she takes in the bigger scene to her left. A favorite field, the sky, the trees, and the sound of birds welcome her. So one way to feel better is to pause and look around us and find something to look at that feels comforting. And so these stories actually have a location, a recreation area near me. Wendy remembers her papa's words. If ever the world does not seem right, come home to your breath. So she puts her hand on her belly to check she is breathing deep. Ah, yes, deep breaths. Oh, what do I do now? Wendy wonders. She sees an image of her crayons. A bit of a smile touches the corners of her mouth. As Wendy enters the kitchen, she goes straight to the cabinet. She pulls out a large box of crayons and some paper. She sits down at the kitchen table. Wendy sits still for a while, listening within herself. And then she begins to draw. So I was going to pause there as our invitation for, kind of some examples. So do we want to kind of see if anyone can find, what were some things that Wendy did that helped self-soothe, that helped bring her into her body in that moment so where was she when she got off the bus? She was merged with Sleuthen, hearing all these thoughts and judgments about how bad her experience was. And what's the first one? Kind of one of the first things she did was actually take in a bigger scene around her. So that's our visual. So my invitation to you today is like when we're looking for how we self-soothe, checking in with our 5 senses. So visually, what can we do to self-soothe ourselves? And there can be sound. so she also took that in. When she looked around, she was hearing the sounds of the birds. But then she also heard sound when she heard, and that was actually Sleuth and, playing that back, heard that, that sound of, well, it could have been either one actually. But that sound of her papa's voice reminding her. And so there may be ways when you pause for yourself, there may be comforting things you tell yourself, when, thoughts that help you move into your parasympathetic system, into relaxing. Taste, oh my goodness. I think probably everybody has something favorite. I know my top 3 right away. I take them everywhere when I travel. Mine would be warm drinks, tea. Oh my gosh. When I know I need to slow down, I make myself a cup of tea and I find a nice place to sit in nature if it's that time of year. And chocolate. Chocolate does good things for me. And my other interesting one is oats, or I make myself homemade granola that I always travel with. And that's working on my serotonin there, so and so taste is one, and let's see, where are we going? Oh my gosh, touch, the power of touch. So when you're in your breakout spaces, really inviting, I often do actually hug myself, and the soft, or bringing even just however, bringing your hands together, any kind of, so interesting thing, each one of our body is basically, most of us, it's wired, that our left hemisphere is the right side of our body, and our right hemisphere is the left side of our body. This isn't true for everyone, and that's why this is what I like about my inner companions as a teaching tool. It teaches the qualities, because the right left thing, actually, we're all wired differently. Some of us are straight up and down, some of us right is on left side. Anyway, but any way that we're bringing them together. And I remember Beth Mahler, I have her come to my learning community, and she has this one exercise you've probably experienced, where she has, your non-dominant hand kind of carries and leads, but soothes. And so there you've got, your non-dominant kind of taking care of the dominant one that usually has to make all the decisions and has to take care of managing and so much, work so hard. And yeah, so touch. And so what have I done? Sound, taste, smells. Okay, and so smells too. Go ahead and invite that. How many of us have, for me, there's definitely the smell like after rain. There's a freshness in the air. There's like a energy, and going around and smelling flowers of all sorts. But lots of times just this comforting smells, like of something baking bread, or many smells that could be something that could help soothe us right now, feel familiar. There we go. And so any questions? So we have this half hour in our breakout space, and essentially I'd like you to kind of divide the time, each spend probably, anyway, some time focusing with your own, and then also sharing, being able to talk a little bit after about too how it can be so powerful to hear someone else's, and that can bring more for you. So there might be something more that comes. And I do want to, okay, let's discern the difference between soothing that Hama would create for us and soothing, other types of soothing that we might have that I would say would fall more under sleuthin creating. And so an interesting thing about sleuthin, who likes to keep us busy and doing, is sleuthin, there's a whole interesting thing there, because sleuthin cannot act out in the world. However, he can like have effects, like put pressure on our body, things like that. And so a common thing sleuthin might like to do is give us a dopamine hit when something has gone wrong, when we have an awkward, challenging moment. So give us a dopamine hit that makes us feel better, which would be something more like blame. If we can somehow make it sound like we just won something right now. And so when you can blame, then you actually, that feels like a win for this like hard situation. And so if those come in your space, we want to, of course, welcome that into your space. And the goal is kind of to spend a little bit more time with the techniques that are really working for you and become more aware of them, so that maybe you can grow them, resource yourself. Any questions?
Yeah. I think I would like you to clarify or make the distinction a little bit more clear between, so one seems to be the soothing of the nervous system, the soothing that we naturally know how to use to stay emotionally balanced. And the other one seems to be the workings, of course, I think you're talking about the left brain, but I'm not understanding the purpose, like, because you call it soothing too. So it's almost like, it feels like it's a little bit like an internal lie to ourselves. It's like, if I do this, there will be some satisfaction, not necessarily a nervous
the long term. Yeah, you're touching exactly on it, because that's a whole difference between the two sides of the nervous systems. So the left is very short. It can details and stuff, but it's very short term. It's like a dopamine hit lasts a very short time and then it's gone. Whereas our right hemisphere can give us broad, sustained experiences, like that we can really, hold on to. And then if we can hold on to that experience from there, ideally we're accessing this sense of our self and presence, or ashamaya, and this sense that we can, look at what really feels right to do next, which could be something we already know, or it could be something new. But we need to be, in our right hemisphere in order to, so we finding ways to, and it's just natural how, I just thought of another one I didn't mention. For sound, I don't know if any of you have a music player, but I have a music player who will play some of my very favorite little tunes to me. For instance, I have that song, Cherish. Cherish is the word. So when I need I had a rough moment, I have something that kind of tells me I love you with that song, Cherish. And so watching for that too. Sorry, what just came. Let's go ahead and go into the breakout spaces, because we can talk more after too about what does come. Does that seem? And remembering, I just want to remind you, even though often you're going to find them not wired together, you may definitely, kind of what was happening in this story, which is kind of an ideal. So this first family that I wrote about, the parents were experienced focusers and have raised their kids. But what was happening actually is, Hum and Sleuthin are working together in helping Wendy. And you may find that it feels like they're, what cares about what you're doing right now, which I definitely feel like, getting tea is both Hum and Sleuthin working for me, because Sleuthin recognizes it is important for me to slow down and get some tea now. So it's encouraging me to do that too, you know, because it cares about what we're doing rather than, but there's other times, of course, I'll keep, you know, that sense like if your computer isn't working and you keep working on it and you keep working on it when you should just walk away for a few minutes, get some tea and come back and the computer will be just fine. But, you know, anyway, sometimes sleuthin isn't working for me, but lots of times it will recognize that's what I need right now. And so whenever you come across that, a feeling of both doing and being are involved in this activity for you, like maybe giving yourself a little like, oh, we're together on this. Anyway, there you go. Because that's really fun. Okay. Yeah. So whoever, Jim, if you want to.
How many people would you like in a breakout room?
I would, well, yeah, it's kind of up to you guys. I mean, 3 would be really great
too. It's up to you, actually.
Okay.
I think 3 is fine.
Yeah, let's go with 3. I think you'll have time.
And would you like to be in one?
I can be, and I don't have to be. However it works.
Anybody who doesn't want to be in a breakout room, don't join the one you were assigned.
So we'll see you back at 9. Why don't we make it 9:25 so we have some time for discussion? Does that sound good?
Sure.
What's the focus in the breakout room?
We're inviting what we already know about self-soothing ourselves. And if it helps you, go ahead and kind of check in with the 5 senses: vision, taste, smell, touch, sound. Yeah. And we're really kind of positive resourcing those experiences, like helping them grow so that what we already know, right, can be more accessible to us. Welcome back.
Hi.
So I open up discussion. Anything you'd like to share about the very luscious space? I was with just one other person, but yeah, just kind of bounced off each other. And it kind of got deeper and deeper. Anyone else? What would you?
Delicious was what came for me. Delicious. Yeah.
Wow, delicious. Yeah.
What was delicious? How was it delicious?
It was delicious in that it wasn't just recognizing that it wasn't just taste that's delicious. Sounds are delicious as well. Smells are delicious. And in our group, you know, I recognized, you know, taking back a sound, or a smell, how it can take you back somewhere instantly. Yeah, that's delicious.
Yummy.
I love that feeling of finally getting into bed after a long day and the deliciousness of the blankets. And so I sort of feel like I'm cuddling up to myself or cuddling up to the universe or something.
Lynn, you really caught the wind of the deliciousness that Mary is talking about. And there is a song for that as well.
What is the song?
It's a delicious song. And Monica sings it incredibly.
Oh, would you sing a little bit of it for us, Monica?
Let's see, we're not hearing.
Yeah. Can't hear you.
No?
No.
Now, yes.
Now, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Rest easy. Rest easy. It's time to rest. It's time to rest. Rest easy. Rest easy. It's time to rest. Good night. Good night.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Wow.
Lovely.
We're all going to fall asleep.
I had the image of us all after the meeting running into our rooms and going to bed.
Well, you reminded me of a time, Lynn, when at times when I really want to rest easy, which was lovely, Monica. I go upstairs to my bedroom and I look out at the trees, and I like it at right before when the sun is going down and there's a glow, and it's resting easy. It's just feeling that connected, and this being in my bed, but yet being with nature, you know.
Pues, this is Sophia. Sandy, thank you for bringing this theme to us. And sorry, I showed up in the breakout room and left, but I was in another one. So like, where do I go? I want to leave that. It was really weird. Anyhow, it's like, yes, we were bouncing off each other's kind of soothing, naturally soothing tools, and some of them that your this conversation is bringing us into consciousness with this, you know, to bring back our attention to, okay, how can I bring back my attention inside and regulate and soothe myself. And I'm reminded how when I do that, everything goes better anyhow. I don't need to do anything else. And so it aligns with trusting that the rest can also have its flow, and that it needs my regulated self. And so as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, with what's going on politically, maybe I can do that. That's an action I can do.
Right. Yeah. It's probably, we all need more self-soothing right now. Yeah. Yeah, and when I was listening to you, actually, what came to me was just another kind of simple way I use things in the books, you know, to kind of explain the skills we do here, but it's the power of the pause. Like, and it comes with the trust, though, like trusting that it's okay, like not to do anything right now. And what's most important is, right, to regulate once we recognize we're not get ourselves back to that state. And from there, things will, we have this whole other perspective, right? That we don't have when we, this bigger perspective. So beautiful. Yeah. We are amazing. What's coming to me too is just appreciation. Again, and it reminds me, like, things staying with exercises like this help us really come to really understand that our body is, wanting our well-being and is taking care of us best. In so many wonderful ways that we often can overlook. So I'm like feeling like, so I'm like Ashamaya right now, hugging my nervous system, all of it.
What you're saying, Sandy, reminds me of the feeling of taking a shower in the morning and something just coming to me. And there's something about that experience. It comes, as Jean says, it coming to us. And it's so reassuring, like, oh yes, we're connected to everything and it comes. And this was a moment taking a shower. I wasn't working on anything, and the answer or the next step or the something or the insight just comes.
Exactly. Yeah. And right. And so if we become more aware of these things, like, we give ourselves a break and take a shower a little longer or whatever, we say, it's the natural focusing moments are here all the time for us. Just, where are they? I love it. Yeah. Shower, definitely a great one.
Where are they? The answer to that will come in the next shower.
And also what I feel personally myself is that the best way to self-soothe is not to try to self-soothe, but to just be with whatever feels took me to that place of not feeling soothed. So the moment I do that, it's like, okay, now that's self-soothing. That's self-soothing.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
What did
we
you
have
say?
to step back.
Bring yourself to the place of what?
Of being with whatever took me to that place of not being self-soothed, or to that feeling, to that sense of I don't know, feeling upset or feeling whatever I'm feeling, and just the being with that and paying attention to that brings me to a different place where I feel more regulated or soothed or whatever. Of course, I do have things that I feel are self-soothing for me, like listening to music or being in the sun or in nature. But when I am in another state, the best way I find to do that is to just be with whatever is there.
Yeah, and that's, again, just kind of, I don't know, I'm just like, that's what I have for the, simple way of teaching, focusing, is I have with inner companions. Hama is I am a body, soothe and I have a body, Ashamaya, who we are. So Ashamaya says I am living process, but it's the being with versus, right, Hama being, soothe and doing. Yeah, when we can move ourselves into being with, then we are, we have that space, the magical space that Jenlyn, the space opens all of a sudden.
What I would say to that, though, that's so beautiful is that because I resonate with what you say, Nati, totally. I have to be with the discomfort to get to the other side. And I would say that these tools of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching help me be with. They're like ways to kind of, other tools in that being with process. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. Like being able to look, to go out into nature and smell and hear and see supports that process, if that makes sense. But that's how I feel, how I experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the neuroscience would affirm that, because that's what's interesting. So both Hama and Ashamaya are in right hemisphere. Yeah.
Every time I hear the word Hama, I think of hummus. And hummus is a soothing food for me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That last thing you said, it makes me feel like the other character, the Sleuthen, is sort of is the bad one. It's the wrong one. I know it isn't.
It isn't.
But I'm just pondering on that place, and your conversation about the blame. We were talking about it in our room, and there's so much not fuel. There's so much potential in that whole field, like a minefield. There's something growing. I don't know what. It's all sitting in there, like it's all stuck in there, in that Sleuthen, like a bomb waiting to go off. It's all right. That's just what I'm feeling. Yeah.
And it can, and so that is so interesting. Yeah, because often, we're so good at kind of, keeping ourselves from being with. But I totally relate to you. I'll always remember my illustrator for the companion. She's really young, in her 20s. She's living in Denmark right now, but she said, she's very right hemisphered, but she said, we need to do more with, showing how amazing Sleuthen is. And I do actually have a story. It's in the third book that shows Sleuthen with a Superman cape on, because it's all these things we can get done and accomplish, that feeling of how good that feels. And it'll change. It's just, I think it is one of the issues Ian McGilchrist says with how we're using our brain right now. We're stopping in the left hemisphere. So the left, and we're just functioning from our patterns. So the left doesn't get the being with time in order to update and to, move forward with us. So it really, yeah.
It feels like it's got the survival instinct.
It's very much about safety. Yeah. Well, they both are, in a sense, but it'll be safety from patterns, which, right. All that comes to me is just remembering. A lot of us come to focusing because we want to get more in touch, with our sensory system and with that, and to communicate more with that, all those aspects of our body, and not passing over, our manager part, how hard, oh my gosh, our life manager will definitely be Sleuthen. So how hard it's working for us all the time, for us to be liked by other people, safe in the world. Yeah.
I was just thinking that there are times when the planning and problem solving and laying things out are a wonderful kind of self-soothing. But let me take this problem apart. Is it this? Is it that? And what steps can I take? And that's all, left brain.
Yes, making lists.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can also be very creative. Like, how can I get there? I want to get to that. Or even I want to be able to say that. How do I get there? And it's that step-by-step planning that's very logical, and it can feel so centering and like, oh, I can have mastery over this thing, or I can create this thing. So I definitely don't feel like that's the bad guy to me.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'll just add, yes, we have the comment from Michael. For me, there is vision, touch, sound, taste, and smell, but mostly also movement. Definitely, yeah, moving embodied from a place of awareness, how soothing that is. And so, yeah, one of probably my big ones too when I travel is walks, like to help orient myself to where I am. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it may be time for our poem.
Oh, definitely. And this is such a luscious poem. This came from a book called The Comfort Book. But anyway, okay. I think it says on the poem, maybe, Dorothy. Does it say where the book is from?
The Comfort Book by Matt Haig.
There we go.
H-I-G. Yes, definitely full of the senses. You'll be surprised. Peanut Butter on Toast by Matt. You will need 2 slices of bread, a jar of peanut butter. Method 1. Place the slices of bread in a toaster. 2. Wait a minute or 2. Remove the toasted bread from the toaster and transfer to a plate. 3. With a knife, spread the peanut butter generously onto one side of the toast. Spread the peanut butter with a knife, always traveling in the same direction over the toast. Don't know why. It just feels better this way. 4. Don't rush it. Set the mood of appreciation by moving the knife at a steady Tai Chi kind of pace. This moment should have the integrity of a religious ritual. 5. Take the plate of toast to your favorite seat. Sit. Compose yourself. Be fully aware of how wondrous it is to be sentient. To be aware you are not only alive as a human being, but as a human being about to eat some peanut butter on toast. Close your eyes as you take the first bite. Let your worries float by, untethered from their hooks, as you appreciate this living moment of taste and pleasure. And 7, if you really don't like peanut butter, this ritual of gratitude and attentiveness has also been proven to work with marmalade.
That is wonderful. And what's the name of the book?
The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
Yeah, it actually, my husband just got it within the last 6 months, but it has tons of poems that it would be great for like focusing spaces. Yeah. I want to use more of them.
Well, thank you so much, Sandy. And this was a delightful, delicious experience. And we'll see you all next week, and Jim will be doing the reflection. Bye-bye now.
Thank
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.